Hello, hello! Pizza Pax here, and we're back with Throwback Thursday, episode number 31. This is World Championship Brussels, August 2000. Quarterfinalist deck, played by Nicolas Labarre. Right, so Nicolas Labarre's combo deck, called Chimera, used searching cards to fetch Fecundity, Saproling Cluster, and Ashnod's Altar, so he could generate infinite mana. With this mana, Labarre used Blaze or Whetstone to plow over his opponents. Okay, very cool. I vaguely remember this deck. Let's get into this. Alright, Nicolas Labarre, Chimera. It's a little overexposed. Much better. Alright, so we have deck contents. Main deck, creatures. 4 Academy Rector from Urza's Destiny. 4 Birds of Paradise. 4 Llanowar Elves. 4 Priest of Titania. 1 Sarah Avatar. Other, 4 Ashnod's Altar. 1 Confiscate. 4 Enlightened Tutor. 4 Fecundity. 1 Pattern of Rebirth, 4 Saproling Cluster, 1 Snake Basket, 1 Whetstone, 1 Yawgmoth's Bargain, 1 Yawgmoth's Will. Whoa. Very good stuff. Then for lands, we have 4 Brushland, 3 City of Brass, 8 Forest, 2 High Market, 2 Phyrexian Tower, 2 Thran Quarry. Okay, so it's a Pattern Rector deck. Interesting. Then we have in our sideboard 1 Absolute Law, 3 Armageddon, 1 Aura Fracture, 1 Blaze, 1 Defense Grid, 1 Energy Flux, 1 Heart of Ramos, 1 Light of Day, 1 Meekstone, 1 Parallax Wave, 1 Phyrexian Processor, 1 Seal of Cleansing, and 1 Worship. Very cool. And apparently the rest of these are upside down relatively. Oh, apparently all those are too. Collect all 4 World Championship decks. John Finkel, Yanis Kuhn, Tom Vanderloo, and Nicolas Labarre. Okay, let's start with the sideboard like we have previously. Nicolas Labarre, quarterfinalist. The 2000 World Championships was Nicolas Labarre's top 8 finish at a Pro Tour event, Rome 98, New York. Oh, third top 8 finish at a Pro Tour event, Rome 98, New York 99, and Worlds 2000. This Rennes, France native played a combo deck he calls Chimera. This deck uses searching cards like Academy Rector and Enlightened Tutor to fetch Fecundity, Saproling Cluster, and Ashnod's Altar. Once those 3 cards were in play, Labarre could generate as much mana as he wanted. With unlimited mana, he could play a very big Blaze or use Whetstone to immediately deck his opponent. Nice. So let's look at our sideboard first. We have Absolute Law, 1 and a white. For an enchantment, all creatures gain protection from red. This actually still sees play in Premodern. In fact, almost all the cards in this deck still see play in Premodern. With art by Mark Zug. Next we have Armageddon with art by Rob Alexander. I think this was... oh, it's the 6th edition art. Looking right at it. So for 3 and a white, sorcery, destroy all lands. This was a normal card for us back in the day. We got 3 copies of Armageddon. In fact, I think that's the only card that there's more than 1 copy of in this sideboard. Next up we have Aura Fracture with art by Rebecca Guai. 2 and a white for an enchantment. Sacrifice a land, destroy target enchantment. Nice repeatable way of getting rid of enchantments. So we have Blaze, art by Gary Grace. This was also the Portal art. X and a red for a sorcery. Blaze deals X damage to target creature or player. And I'm pretty sure the reason they were playing Blaze was that Kavrak's Torch had just rotated out, but Not entirely sure. Next up, we have Defense Grid, art by Mark Tedden. 2-mana artifact. During each player's turn, spells played by another player cost an additional 3. Still played heavily in Legacy. Sees a bit of play in Modern even. Next up, Energy Flux, art by Quao Danfu, or Dafu. This is one of multiple printings of this card. 2 and a blue enchantment. All artifacts gain at the beginning of your upkeep. Sacrifice this artifact unless you pay 2. Heart of Ramos, art by David Martin. 3-mana artifact. Tap, add a red to your mana pool. Sacrifice it, add a red to your mana pool. Light of Day, art by Drew Tucker. 3 and a white enchantment. Black creatures can't attack or block. Just absolutely back-breaking cards for mono black. Meekstone, art by Quentin Hoover. 1-mana artifact. Each creature with power 3 or greater doesn't untap during its controller's untap step. Nice. Parallax Wave, a card that has made many a judge call. Art by Greg Staples. 2 white for an enchantment with fading 5. Remove a fade counter from Parallax Wave. Remove target creature from the game. When Parallax Wave leaves play, each player returns to play all cards he or she owns removed from the game with Parallax Wave. So if you stack your activated abilities correctly with the trigger, you can remove them and never give them back. Phyrexian Processor, art by Ron Spencer. 4-mana artifact. When it comes into play, you may pay any amount of life. 4 and tap. Put a minion token into play. Treat this token as a black creature with power and toughness, each equal to the amount of life paid at the time Phyrexian Processor came into play. Just great way of closing out games, and just good repeatable source of creatures. Seal of Cleansing, art by Christopher Moliere. Or Moeller. It's either Moeller or Moliere. 1 and a white enchantment. Sacrifice Seal of Cleansing. Destroy target artifact or equipment. It's disenchant that sticks around to use it later. And we have Worship, art by Mark Zug. 3 and a white enchantment. Damage that reduce your life total to less than 1, instead reduces it to 1 if you control a creature. So that was one of the really cool ways of stopping aggro decks from beating you down before you could clear things out, because they had to deal with your creatures as well. Alright, now for the main deck. We have Academy Rector, art by Heather Hudson. 3 and a white for a 1/2 cleric. When it's put into your graveyard from play, you may remove it from the game. If you do, search your library for an enchantment card and put it into play. Then shuffle your library. This is one of the primary engines of the deck. This plus sack outlet lets you get your combo pieces. Still a fantastic card for doing that today, and sees tons of play in every format that is legal. Birds of Paradise, Bolt the Bird, art by Mark Poole. For green, you get a 0/1 bird with flying, and they can tap to add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. 4 copies of birds. Llanowar Elves, another accelerator. Art by Anson Maddox. For green, you get a 1/1 elf that taps for green. We have 4 copies of Llanowar Elves. Priest of Titania, art by Rebecca Guay. 1 and a green for a 1/1 elf. Tap, add a green to your mana pool for each elf in play. Not just each elf you control, but each elf in play. So this also counts your opponent's elves. We have 4 copies of Priest of Titania. And our last creature is Sarah Avatar. Art by Dermot Power. For white for an XX Avatar. Its power and toughness is equal to your life total. When it's put into a graveyard, shuffle it into its owner's library. So eventually you can get to where you can sacrifice this over and over again. Ashnod's Altar, art by Anson Maddox. This is one of our primary combo pieces. A 3-mana artifact, sacrifice a creature, add 2 colorless mana to your mana. Be 4 copies of Ashnod's Altar. Yep. Still a massive combo piece. Even today, there's so many different combos that you can do with Ashnod's Altar. Confiscate, art by Adam Rex. 4 blue, enchant permanent. So it's an enchantment or an enchant permanent. You control enchanted permanent. And one of my favorite things with this is just yoink. Alright, next up we have Enlightened Tutor, art by Dan Frazier. For a white, you have an instant, search your library for an artifact or enchantment, reveal it, and then shuffle your library. Put that card on top. Should have 4 Enlightened Tutors. Yep. Still played heavily in, again, every format that it's legal. Then good old Fecundity, art by Rebecca Guai. 2 and a green, enchantment. Whenever a creature is put into a graveyard from play, that creature's controller may draw a card. Great thing if you're going to be sacrificing a lot of creatures. Lets you dig through your deck very quickly. Pattern of Rebirth, art by Mark Brill. This is a fun one. 3 and a green, enchant creature. When an enchanted creature is put into a graveyard from play, that creature's controller may search his or her library for a creature card and put that card into play. If that player does, he or she then shuffles his or her library. There are so many combos with this card. Put Academy Rector into Pattern of Rebirth, or putting a Pattern of Rebirth on an Academy Rector and then sacrificing it lets you go and get a number of infinite combos. This also was played alongside Iridescent Drake, and some similar other creatures like Academy Researchers. Saproling Cluster. 1 and a green, enchantment. 1, discard a card from your hand. Put a 1/1 green Saproling creature token into play. Any player may play this ability. So, with Fecundity out, you pay 1, discard a card, to get 2 mana, and draw a card. So you can make effectively infinite... It's not actually infinite mana until you get to just the Sarah avatar. So, I mean, that's kind of a cool thing. Because, yeah. And you sacrifice the creature to that. Yeah. You can actually generate infinite mana with this. It's pretty cool. We have 4 Saproling Clusters. We have Snake Basket. I love this card. This was one of my favorite ways to win with backup win conditions for Prosperous Bloom back in the day. 4 mana artifact. Sorry. Art by Roger Raup. 4 mana artifact. X, sacrifice Snake Basket. Put X 1/1 green cover creature tokens into play. Play this ability only if you're allowed to play a sorcery. And then it's got the great flavor text of, does anyone have a flute? You can make an arbitrarily large number of creatures with that. Next up we have Whetstone. 3 mana artifact. Art by Greg Simonson. Or Simonson. 3 mana artifact. 3, each player puts the top 2 cards of his or her library into his or her graveyard. So you mill both of you. You have the Sarah avatar, so that keeps shuffling back into your deck. So you're able to just keep going at that point. Yawgmoth's Bargain. So good it is restricted in Vintage and banned everywhere else. I think this is actually banned in Commander too, but I'm not entirely sure. Commander players, let me know. Is this banned in Commander? Art by Michael Sutphin. Michael Sutphin. 4 black for an enchantment. Skip your draw step. Pay a life, draw a card. This was supposed to be the fixed version of Necropotence. It is not a fixed version of Necropotence. Yawgmoth's Will. Another card that is restricted in Vintage, banned pretty much everywhere else. Not sure. I think it's also legal in Commander. tons of combos built around it. Just an absolute staple in Vintage. Art by Ron Spencer. 2 and a black, sorcery. Until end of turn, you may play cards in your graveyard as though they were in your hand. Cards put into your graveyard this turn are removed from the game instead. So, sack a whole bunch of mana artifacts, Lion's Eye Diamonds, stuff like that. Play Yogg-Will, or do it in response to a Yogg-Will on the stack. Replay them, get a whole bunch of mana, go off. Alright. Brushland, art by Tom Vanderstrand. Taps for colorless, and then taps for a white or a green, and deals 1 damage to you. Good old Pain Land. 4 Brushlands. City Brass, art also by Tom Vanderstrand. When it's tapped, it deals 1 damage to you. Tap for 1 mana of any color. 3 copies. We have some Forest by Quentin Hoover. 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8. Except we have High Market. This is one of the sack outlets for your pattern combo and for your Academy Rector. Art by Carl Critchlow. Tap for a colorless, and then tap and sacrifice a creature to gain a life. You have 2 copies of High Market. Phyrexian Tower, art by Chippy. Legendary land, that is important. Tap for a colorless, and then you can tap and sacrifice a creature to add black to your mana pool. Still very, very good card. And last but not least, we have Thran Quarry. Art by Michael Sutphin. At the end of each turn, if you control no creatures, sacrifice Thran Quarry. Then tap, add 1 mana of any color to your mana. Very nice. So, that is Chimera. It's a cool combo deck. I remember playing against it quite a bit at the time. It was a lot of fun. Even more fun to play, though. Yeah. Thank you for joining me on this adventure with Nicolas Labarre's deck from the 2000 Brussels Worlds. As always, don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff for the algorithm. It really helps us out, and I really appreciate it. And until next time, stay awesome. We'll see you in the next one. Thanks. Bye.